Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Sandeman podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. I'm Andrew, and joining me today is my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Do you have a good weekend?
I did. It was fine, yeah. Had a birthday thing to go to, so that was good. You?
Decent? Yeah, well, the football it wasn't too bad, it wasn't too great. The 49ers are off to a 2-0 start in the NFL, so can't complain. Liverpool won with a last minute penalty, so I've had worse weekends recently, put it that way. As always, we'll get going on to this week's podcast. If you are listening on YouTube, could you give us a like and a subscribe? And I think there's a new feature called Hype. If you could hype our video, that would be great. If you would like to find us on socials, we are at Sandeman ST Pod on Twitter. That is at Sandeman ST Pod. And on Instagram, we are at the Sandeman Street Pod. Jack, only one place to start this week, and that is Easter Road. A
Yes.
pretty thrilling 3-3 draw between Hibs and United. First of all, what's your overall thoughts on it?
I think it was obviously a good game of football. Maybe marred a bit by the refereeing performance. Obviously, as United, from a United perspective, disappointing to not get the win after being 3-1 up. But before the game, I would have took a point. So it is probably a fair result, all in all.
It's one of the ones where it's such a hard place to go, Easter Road, especially at the moment, with Hibs having a quite a good team. And when you're 3-1 up, you're thinking you shouldn't really be losing it from, well, not losing it from there, but you should be winning it from there. But to come away with only a point is disappointing in the end, but with the bigger picture, it's probably a good result, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a good result. It's like you say, it's a hard place to go. We obviously didn't help ourselves with the goals we conceded, but to be able to score 3 goals there as well it shows that we're able to create stuff and we're able to score, which is nice. Obviously, we probably weren't as creative last season, a bit more solid at the back though. So, but at least we're providing entertaining games of football for the fans.
Well, that's certainly it. I mean, we'll take it all from, we'll go from start to finish. The first goal was from Stevenson, his first of two. What a ball in the box it was from United's left back to right back. Didn't really seem to know much about it, but he was in the right place at the right time to nod home.
Yeah, great ball in by Ferry. He's a really good player for us, and I think a few people were saying that as soon as the ball left his foot, you know it was going to end on the head of a United player.
Going from there, Hibs obviously equalised. Less said about that, the better. I think the boy in the goals, what's his name?
Kucherenko.
We've obviously discussed him on previous podcasts, and I mean, he did have a few good saves within the game, but he's going to be at fault for a few goals like that, I reckon, this season, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think he was maybe partly at fault for all 3 of the goals, to be honest. If you're coming to punch a ball, you should only come for it if you know you're going to win it. And he's came for it, he's mistimed his punch, and he's punched it into the back of his own net, which I think throughout the season he's going to have a couple of them, to be honest with you, where he's going to come for a ball and then not claim it like he should. But like you say, he did have a couple of really good saves during the game.
Mm-hmm. You just know what's going to happen though, and I'm really surprised that Hibs didn't do it more when you've got players like Jamie McGrath and Nicky Cadden with their, specifically the two of them with their dead ball abilities. When I just couldn't believe that they weren't trying to get the ball on top of him more, and you just know that that's what opposition teams are going to do with him now. I mean, I'm no goalkeeping expert. I just think that he's coming with one hand to punch it with one hand. I mean, that's surely more difficult. You get more control if you're coming with 2 hands, surely.
Yeah, he's probably as he's progressed as a footballer, he's probably just done it so one arm's a blocking hand and the other hand's to punch. He's going to get a better connection using 2 hands, but if that's the way he's done it, I don't think you'll be able to change it very quickly off of him.
No. Moving on to United going 2-1 up. I mean, if you're Jim Goodwin, it's the thing of beauty, isn't it? All three front players are involved. Fata with the ball through. Dolchek takes the ball from the goalie and scares at Sapsford. I mean, that's what you're wanting from your front three, isn't it? All three of them involved.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good to see. Satsford apparently had quite a quiet game, but he's got on the score sheet again, so you can't complain about that.
No, he seems to be quite deadly, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Moving on to the second half, if you're David Gray, you're in the dressing room, probably not performed as well as he thinks they can. He's thinking, right, go out there and put wrongs to right, and immediately you're 3-1 down. Another goal from Stevenson at the back post. This time more, obviously the first goal was a bit scrappy. He's in the right place at the right time to header home after not knowing too much about it. This one was a bit more cultured finish into the bottom corner.
Yeah, it's good to see him getting in at the right places. I don't think he was known for that last season, but he seems to be getting there this season. He's been told by Goodwin to get a bit further forward, put a bit more pressure on the back line. And he's doing that, and he's getting in positions where he's able to score, which is really good to see.
3-2 quite quickly after that. Now, I know that earlier on you touched on whether or not you reckon the goalkeeper was maybe at fault for more than just the first goal. His pass out to, is it Savelge or Surveyor, whatever his name is? In my opinion, he's got to do far better. The pass out to him isn't, I mean, it's not a bad pass, it's not a hospital ball. You see that kind of pass every week now in all levels of football. The deep blind midfielder comes deep to take the ball off the goalkeeper and they start off from there. You think his body position was all wrong. He takes a poor first touch and then he just falls to the ground and tries to buy a foul. Thankfully, I'm not saying this because I'm wanting United to get beaten like that. Thankfully, on this occasion, the referee didn't buy the dive, and obviously Kieran Bowie does well to nip in and score.
Yeah, I think Savelge needs to play it first time when the ball comes to him. He needs to. I think S-Link was free to his left, so he should have played that first time. Instead, he's took that touch. Argument it maybe could have been a foul. Apparently, he gave a couple of them that day, but that time he never. And then, like you say, Bowie's got on to the end of it and finished it.
Yeah. I mean, they're the sort of fouls that you see happen all over the pitch, week in, week out. And I think that's probably what the most frustrating thing is for football fans, especially for myself anyway, talking personally, is that I think most football fans know that they are not fouls, but the problem is that some get given and some don't. And when one like that gets given and immediately results in a goal, that is the most frustrating thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because you want, as a fan, you just want consistency. You want to know what's going to happen when X happens on a pitch. So if a person gets tackled from behind and it's the same type of tackle, no matter what game, you know, okay, that's a foul. But it's not that. It's 1 week, it's fine. One ref, it's fine. Another ref, it's a foul, and you should be punished for it. When it comes to playing out the back, this is a wee bugbear of mine. I think teams play out the back too often, and it's not beneficial to the team. I think looking at the stats, there's only 3 or 4 teams in the UK that actually benefits from playing out from the back. Like, they create more goals than they concede. Almost all teams concede more goals than they score playing out from the back. So that's a personal grudge for me tactically. I think Kusherenko should probably kick the ball out wide, play a long ball instead. You're 3-1 up, waste some time instead of playing it shot from the back. But like you say, it is frustrating as a fan watching the inconsistencies with the referees regarding whether that's a foul or not.
Well, I'll tell you, obviously we'll discuss this later, but if you didn't like teams playing out for the back, you'd hate being a Motherwell supporter. Just finishing up on the Hibs United game, the equalising goal, a bit of a old school stramash at the corner or free kick. I think it was from a corner. Bodies flying everywhere, and ultimately ends up in being a penalty after a VAR check. Great penalty from Jimmy McGrath to equalise the game.
Yeah, Kucherenko probably unlucky not to save it. He gets down well. He's just not able to get a good touch on it, I think. I don't know if he gets a touch on it, but he's close to the ball. But yeah, it's a disappointing penalty to lose. I'm sure we'll discuss it in a bit in our new segment. But it's frustrating to lose, especially at that time of the match. You want to be holding on to the lead, but obviously we never.
Yeah, but I think, as I said earlier, I mean, it's one of the ones where, it's disappointing to not win the game from 3-1 up with 50 minutes to go or 45 minutes to go, because you're talking 40 minutes plus stoppage time. It's one of them ones where it is frustrating, it's disappointing, but in the grand scheme of things, if you were to offer United a 3-3 draw at Easter Road before the beginning of the game, they probably would have taken it. So, take the 3 points, build for the next game, and take it from there, I say.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, moving on to the other game of the weekend for our teams, and that was Dundee's draw, 1-1 draw at home to Barcelona. As we were speaking about last week, of a lot of hype about them. I was texting Martin yesterday, and he was telling me that he was listening to Open All Mike's coverage on Radio West Coast, and he was saying that for the entire 90 minutes they were just sitting there lording over Motherwell and how much they passed the ball around and how much pretty football they play. Well, they came to Dundee on Saturday, who have been tipped widely to get relegated, haven't started the season very great, are still finding their way with a brand new team, and they couldn't beat us. So, for all the pretty football they play, they've not even won a match yet, have they?
No, they've not. I only seen the highlights of it, but they look to have played some pretty good football. They seem quite, from the highlights, they seem to look quite direct. But yeah, like you said, they've not actually won a game yet, despite all the praise that they've received so far.
No, and I think the manager's obviously, that's how he's wanting to play. Like, and who am I to tell him that that's the wrong way to play? Who am I to criticise that? It's not the style of football that I necessarily would choose to watch or choose to play myself. But look, they're going to be okay this season. Like, I'm not when I say this, I'm not criticising Motherwell as a team, because Motherwell have got quite a few decent players. They'll not be in any trouble by the end of the season. They might push top 6. My gripe is that you see a team in Scotland play 10 passes out from the back. The centre half plays it to one centre half, plays it back to the goal and plays it to the other centre half, and we've got boys on the telly and boys on the radio sitting there with their shorts around their ankles, like they're watching Barcelona from 2011. Like, listen, they played very well in the first half, Motherwell. They totally deserved their 1-0 lead. To be honest with you, the goal that they did score wasn't great from Dundee's point of view. It probably could have been prevented. It wasn't great defending from, I think it was Luke Graham, one-on-one with the boy Maswanise. So, the goal that they did score, I think is preventable from Dundee's point of view, but they did deserve to be 1-0 up at half-time. They were the far better team in the first half. But Dundee made a great substitution at half-time. Cam Congreve comes on, and he's only played, half an hour at Kilmarnock, 45 minutes against United, and then 45 minutes against Motherwell, but that's him becoming a Dundee player that game. Like, he was excellent when he came on. Great inverted winger. We've obviously got Ugan one side, him the other. 4-2-3-1 is our formation, I reckon. You've obviously got Danda. Now, Danda, we'll touch on him later on, in the formation that they played at Killie in the derby, and then the first half against Motherwell, 3-4-3 kinda. He's kinda stuck kinda half out on the left wing, half not, and it's just not the right position for him. I know that Stephen Presley wants to try and play with 2 strikers, but I honestly do reckon to get the best out of the players that we have at the moment, our best creative players, it has to be 4-2-3-1 now. Whoever you play in the back 4, whoever you play in the goal, whatever, You would play, when fit, in my opinion, Ethan Hamilton, who had a good game on Saturday. As we were speaking about last week, I think he's going to be a very good signing for us. He played very well on Saturday. And probably with Digby when Digby's back fit. So that gives you your solidity in the midfield, the two of them kind of more defensive minded, whereas Hamilton would like to get forward more than Digby, but then Digby's your safety net. You would put Danda in front of them, Yagan and Congreve out wide, and you've got probably Murray up front. I think that's probably the formation to get the best out of what we have. It's certainly what was working on Saturday in the second half. So I got a good goal, first Dundee goal for Luke Graham, first league goal for Dundee for Luke Graham. Good header, back post cross from Congreve. Both teams had their chances. We probably had the best chance of the match to win the game with Murray. How he didn't bury that. I mean, did you see that miss?
Yeah, he should be hitting the target at least.
He's got to bury it, has he? I mean, it's probably harder to miss.
It's a glaring opportunity, mate.
9 yards out, and he sweeps it wide. I mean, it's just not happening for him at the moment, but he'll come good. He's obviously had a couple or 2 or 3 good seasons in a row now, so I'm not too worried. He'll come good eventually. Motherwell had another good chance with Masonise, but I mean, other than that, they played other pretty football. They created next to nothing.
Yeah, first off, I agree with you with regards to their goal. But I think it is poor defending from Dundee. I think that the Motherwell striker you're saying, I don't know his name, he seems to just run past Graham. Doesn't really put much pressure on him, and he's just able to hit it in the back of the net. I think it could easily have been prevented if you were just a bit more physical with the boy. With regards to Danda, I think he's got to play attacking midfielder. That's the position I see him. If I think of Danda, I see him as an attacking midfielder, laying off passes to Simon Murray up top. As for chances created from Motherwell, I don't think, like I said, I didn't see much of the game. I just seen the highlights. I never seen the stats or anything, so don't know how many chances they created total. But Dundee don't seem to me to be extremely strong defensively. I know they're stronger than last year, but they're still conceding 1 to 2 goals a game minimum. Motherwell are going to be a tough team to come up against this year. Like you say, I think they'll be safe. There's weaker teams than them, and if they are playing the football people say they are, then they are going to end up creating chances from mistakes more than anyone. It's still a good point for Dundee, don't get me wrong. I think you would have took that at the start. But I think it'll help you towards the end of the season with points like that.
Yeah, in the pub before the match, I was speaking to a boy that been going to away games with for years now, and I was saying to him that I think because of the nature of how Dundee's squad's been assembled, it's a brand new team, effectively. I think it's going to take them maybe a couple of months from obviously the start of the season, maybe 2 or 3 months to kind of really get to a place where they are where Stephen Presley wants them to be. Now obviously the problem with that is that you're wanting them to be doing that whilst picking up points, and they've not won a game in the league yet, but games like that on Saturday where they did get outplayed for large spells of the match but they've not lost, pick up points like that. The game on Saturday, which we'll touch on later, is a huge one. They need to win that game on Saturday. If you were to come into these two, well, obviously they had 3 home games with the derby, but these 2 in particular, Motherwell at home, Livingston at home. If somebody offered me 4 points before that, I would have said yeah. I would have liked 6, but if you were to have offered me 4, then I would have said yeah. And I think my main point is that hopefully once this team grows into what it can be, we're not in a position where we're miles behind and having to play catch up, because by that point your confidence is at rock bottom and so on. So yeah, I can see this Dundee team getting better, but once they get to that stage, I'm just wanting them to kind of still be within the pack
Yeah, you want to be in the pack. You want to be at least close to the competition come halfway through the season, come in another few months, because at that point your team will have gelled, and you could be playing better football and getting better results to push yourselves up the league. Dundee, from what I've seen so far, they could be safe. I've obviously not seen Livy or other teams around that end of the pitch that are likely to be there at the end of the season. Sorry, but Dundee could be safe as long as you keep in that pack and you keep picking up the odd result here and there. I don't see why you can't be safe this season.
I think one of the things I was worried about was I think that we're going to be thereabouts with Livy and thereabouts with Falkirk. I did also predict at the beginning of the season that Motherwell and Kilmarnock are going to be within that. I think the rest of the teams in the league are probably too strong and will pick up enough points to not really ever be in trouble. St Mirren, United, Aberdeen. I mean, I say that I think Aberdeen will get there based on their squad, their signings. But if you were to have taken their form from like December last year till now, it's shocking.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really shocking. But I just kind of see them being in a position where they're really toiling. I think they'll pick up enough points here and there to maybe finish top of the bottom six or something like that. But one of my main worries is that you've obviously got Falkirk and Livy and they're coming up with momentum. They're coming up with confidence from getting promoted and having good seasons last season, whilst we're in the doldrums. But I've seen nothing of Livy, nothing of Falkirk. I mean, yeah, they won in Aberdeen last week. Aberdeen off the back of a European match, and they're obviously not in the best of moments. I've seen nothing of them, and I've seen nothing of Livy to suggest that there's anything to worry about. I mean, I'm saying that now. Livy come to Dens and batter us on Saturday, but I think if we can stick with them until October after an international break or whatever, and then really kick on, I think we'll be alright, yeah.
Yeah, you'd like to hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to our next section, and that is just covering the rest of the results. As I said, Aberdeen continued their poor start to the season with a 0-0 draw at home to Livy. Always a stuffy one. I think we're going to experience that on Saturday. Dundee with a 1-1 draw at Motherwell, as we've spoken about. Falkirk 1, St Mirren 2. Rangers 0, Hearts 2. Now, Jack, how Russell Martin hasn't been emptied yet, I've got no idea.
He should have been sacked about 2 weeks ago, to be honest with you.
The thing is, though, he's in a no-win situation. I mean, I think I've probably said this before. I've definitely said this in social company. But the Rangers fans were never having him, never having him. But the problem was that the problem that they had was, from an outsider looking in, and from what you read in the media, is that there was nobody else really in for the job. I mean, the boy Ancelotti, he's clearly pissed him about. I think he was probably the number one target. And he's obviously mucked him about all summer. And then they've went for Russell Martin off the back of that. But as football fans, I always think, like, on Saturday at Dens, from probably about halfway through the first half up until half time, Dundee fans rummed about where I was sitting were getting right on the team's back, booing everything that went wrong, booed them off at half time. And I just didn't see the point in it. Like, you get the people, I've paid my money so I can get to vent and see what I want. Yeah, to an extent, but you're there to support the team. And I've never heard a player ever come out and say, "Oh yeah, when they booed me off at half time, that's really, really fired me up. I really enjoyed that." Like, we're there to support them, and Rangers fans were never having them. Now, yeah, off the back of what they've saw, fair enough. But it was like what I said earlier in the year about Presley. Dundee fans have almost wanting him to fail so that they could say, "Told you so, told you it was a bad appointment." Has a similar feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think he's working on borrowed time, to be honest with you. our news reporter asked him if he was going to resign. He said no, but when the fans are on your back, it's really difficult to do your job properly. I was listening to the Open Goal podcast with Called Honison the other day, and he was saying that at United, his confidence was shot. Like, United were booing him constantly. He was making loads of mistakes. He was saying he deserved it because he wasn't good enough and he had an attitude, but he was saying that people booing isn't going to help in the situation. It's just going to make them feel more under pressure to do their job properly. And that's probably what Russell Martin's going through right now, because he can't do his job properly because the fans are constantly on his back.
Yep. Yeah, I've never seen the point in it myself, but it's an argument that you're never going to win with some people, so what's the point in having it? Closing off Saturday's results was obviously the 3-3 draw between Hibernian and Dundee United, like we spoke about. Moving on to Sunday, Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 2. Now, that takes us on very nicely to our new topic, which you touched on earlier, Jack, which is Ref Watch. I'm not taking any credit for the name of that segment. Guarantee it's been used hundreds of times from hundreds of different media and podcasts before. Now, what really inspired me, there's two things that inspired me about this segment. One, my love of moaning. And two, I was watching Willie Collum on that Sky Sports thing. They started it last year, it's moved on to Sky Sports as well, where they do the VAR, they show you the clips, the referees speaking to each other and blah blah blah. And I just find it incredible. Incredible. Now, the one that I really wound me up was the one with Dundee Ibrox, unsurprisingly enough, with Rangers getting that penalty. I mean, some of the things that you hear them speaking about, it's just totally bemusing, eh? Like, when they were speaking about Dre Wright behind Gassama, and he was saying the defender has responsibility to stop the contact. Like the attacker has got goal side of the defender, and it's the defender's responsibility to stop contact from happening. Now, what does he suggest that the defender does in that situation that happened at Ibrox? Does he suggest that Dre Wright just stops dead and just goes, "On you go, mate, you should have a free shot on my goal"? So that's one thing. The second thing is that what the presenter actually asked him, but in my opinion didn't press hard enough on it, he let him away with his first answer, which was bollocks, was Gassama, one, hauling Dre Wright's shorts off him almost, and two, throwing his legs in the air and falling to the ground like he'd been shot by a sniper. Like, it quite clearly wasn't a foul, and everybody, we went over this at the time, so I'm not going to continue to go over it again, but that wasn't a penalty in my eyes. What I did like about it is that you heard the referee calling over Clark Robertson, who was our captain on the day, and you actually heard Clark Robertson say to him, "But it was a dive." And the referee says, "Well, no, I don't think it was." I mean, the people in VAR might not be watching frame for frame what we're seeing on the replays when we're watching the replays on that VAR episode. But there was an instance where, for about 15 seconds, they were saying, yeah, there's definitely contact here. And it was from a camera behind the goal looking through the net. Now, how can you possibly see that? Anyway, we're going to stop there and we're going to move on to what this segment really is about. And it's the three refereeing major talking points that I think from the weekend. There probably is more, but from Premier League anyway. Now, as I said 5 minutes ago before my rant, the Celtic Killie game took us perfectly on to this new segment. Celtic's penalty, Jack. John Beaton was the ref. Didn't give it in normal time. It goes to VAR and was given. What do you think?
I think it's an absolute joke of a decision, mate. I think it's never a penalty. Maybe under the current laws it might be a penalty because the ball has struck his arm, but I think the law needs to change as it is. The law doesn't suit the game. It's not justifiable, the decisions that teams are getting from the laws that are in place, but I think it's extremely harsh. The ball's bounced off his teammate, it's bounced up into his arm. He's not had a second to react. He's not a split second to react. And it's hit his arm and it just went out. I think it's an absolute joke of a decision, to be honest with you.
So this one, Sam watched the last 15-20 minutes of this game, and you just knew that Celtic were going to get something, did you? I mean, them and Rangers are guaranteed stick on bankers to get something in the last minute when they need it. It's a difficult one because he's made his body bigger. Now, what I will say is that they've obviously not had this Willie Collum clown show VAR thing for this weekend's incidents. That'll come at the end of the month. What you'll say is that he's made his body bigger to block a shot, and his sole purpose is to block the shot, and that because he's done that, it should be a penalty. He said exactly the same thing regarding the one that Hibs should have got against St Mirren. I think it was last week or the week before. I think it was the week before because it was before the international break, wasn't it? I can see why that was given after the referee going to see it again. My problem is that I don't think it's clear and obvious. Like, you know how they have this thing where it's, if with VAR, where they have to send them only if it's clear and obvious, as opposed to, we'll just send them to make the right decision. Like, if a decision's incorrect, you send them to make the correct one, in my opinion. You didn't send them only if it's clear and obvious that he's made the mistake. So, yeah, but I don't think that's a clear and obvious error from the referee. I think that's, if you spot that, give it, and think it's a penalty, go for it. And I don't think it's a big enough error in the clear and obvious world to overturn it. But I also don't think it's a clear and obvious error for him to then go and give it either, if you know what I'm saying. But if you were to nail me down and say, do I think it's a penalty? I don't think it's a penalty, no.
I think you need to take into account if a team has gained an advantage from the handball. I think if in that situation the ball is not going towards the net, it's bounced up off the defender, it's going away from goal, and it's hit his arm, I don't think Killie have gained an advantage from that. The ball has ended up going out of play for a corner, what would have been a corner anyway. So Celtic, if anything, had the advantage. And I think that needs to be looked at when it comes to these decisions, because just having the ball hit your arm shouldn't be justification enough for giving a foul like that.
No, the bit that you said about are they gaining advantage, I think that moves us perfectly on to our next one, which is the penalty that Hibs got against United. Now, I'll go first for this one, and you can agree or disagree with me on this if you like. I think that is a penalty, and the reason I think it's a penalty is because I'm a Dundee fan. No, I think it is a penalty, and the reason I think it's a penalty is because I think the ball is going towards the goal. Now, whether it's got enough power on it is another thing, but it's certainly going goal-bound, and for that reason, I think it's probably a penalty. I thought it was incredibly harsh that he got sent off, although I can't understand why, but I thought it was very, very harsh. But based on the fact that the ball was going goal-bound and it struck his arm and deflected up, I think it's probably a penalty because of that.
I actually agree with you. I think it's, unfortunately, it is a penalty. I think he's been pushed in the back by Kucherenko and he's maybe lost his balance a wee bit. And his arms went up to maybe balance himself out. I don't know. Or maybe just apply a little bit of pressure onto Bowie. But Bowie's dropped, his arm's been left in the same position, and he's obviously kicked the ball and it has hit his arm. It is going goal-bound, so I can see it being a penalty. As you're saying, I think a red card is extremely harsh. It's not as if, I think it was Luis Suarez against Ghana in the World Cup, when he's basically made a dive and handled the ball wide, hooked off the line to prevent the ball from going in the back of the net. His
he almost doesn't even know. He almost
Yeah.
doesn't even notice it.
I think he's not had any time to react to it. He's not got a chance to move his arm out the way because Bowie kicks the ball from so close to him. So it's just bounced off his arm as he's been pushed or whatever. So I think a red card is extremely harsh, and United have been punished twice for it when it's a mistake. Yes, the penalty, it probably is a penalty, but it should never have been a red card in my opinion.
I think he was already booked severe, wasn't he?
I think that
Now,
was a straight red.
yeah, he did get a straight red because we were watching it in the pub after we'd been at Dens, and we sat with Ross, who's a United supporter, and he was saying he'll get a second yellow card. And I thought to myself, usually when they have these decisions, they don't tend to book them, and then he come and give him a straight red, and I thought, wow, like that is really harsh. But it could be a good thing if you think that United have got grounds of appeal, because at least they can appeal a straight red. But I don't think they'll appeal that.
Yeah, the Daily Record just posted an article this afternoon saying that United are going to appeal against it, so they must think they've got a case for it. And I think Dundee for the one coming up as well, the Danda one we're going to discuss. That's also getting mentioned that Dundee are going to appeal to that.
Yeah. Since you've brought that up, we'll move on. I do find that very surprising that United are appealing that, but I suppose that is the good thing about it, getting a straight red as opposed to two yellows. Then I can't appeal that. But yeah, Dan McFarlane was the ref at the United Hibs game. Not a big fan, but I'm not a big fan of most of the refs, including the one that was at Dens, Callum Scott. He is right up there with some of the more. So that you've got, in my opinion, you've got two tiers of Scottish football refs. You've got really shite and you've got really, really, really shite. And Callum Scott is well within that second category. He is hopeless. I'm sure we had him last season against Aberdeen. I'm pretty sure it was him. It was at Dens. And if I'm not right, then it'll just be one of his mates in the latter category. And it was just after, obviously, in the Euros, and you know how they tend to bring in new legislation, new laws of the game in tournaments in the summer, and then obviously the league season starts and they bring it into the league season and the Champions League and whatever. And it was obviously in the Euros they were making this big thing about it's only the captain that should be allowed to speak to the referee, and if the goalkeeper is the captain, then one outfield player is designated to speak to the captain, and blah blah blah. I remember Aberdeen scored the goal at Dens, and it was down the Shankly end of the away end. And I'm pretty sure Murray was the captain that day. And a lot of the Dundee kind of back forward midfielders were complaining to the ref about whatever they were complaining about. And you could visibly see Murray going round to them all and going, go away, I'll speak to the ref, go away. You could visibly see him doing it. And he had just managed to get the last player or two away. And he turned around to the ref, went to speak to him, and the ref ran away from him. I mean, what is the point bringing a rule like that if you're not even going to adhere to it from the referee side of things? It's like the 6-second rule when the goalie wasn't allowed to have the ball in longer than 6 seconds, and that lasted 6 seconds. And then, I mean, I've wrote a few things down about Callum Scott with this new thing that we spoke about before, where the goalie's allowed the ball for 8 seconds, and for the last 5 seconds of that, the ref counts down with his hand in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do that. Goalies have the ball in their hands way longer than 8 seconds. Didn't bother his arse counting it down. It's just shocking, eh? Now, a couple of things that I wanted to go over before we discussed what we're going to discuss in the red card. And he's not just the only one that's guilty of this. This is my biggest frustration with refs, is that everything's a free kick. There's no flow to any game of football nowadays for two reasons. One is boys going down injured when they're no injured, and the other one is the referee's giving soft free kicks that are never fouls and just completely disrupting the flow of games. He's not the only guilty party for that, but he was very guilty for it on Saturday. There was another one that I wanted to speak about, which was in the second half, I think it was close to the end of the game, and Dundee, two of Dundee's defenders went for the same ball to clear it with their head and clattered each other. And it turned out that they were both fine, but it looked like could have been a sore one for at least one of them. and it was a head injury. Now, the ref lets the ball bounce to the edge of the box. The Motherwell player either takes a touch and hits it or hits it first time and the goalie parries it wide, right? And he then blows for a head injury. Now, there's got to be loads of changes for me in the legislation about when to stop games and if a player goes down and needs treatment, how long he should go off the park for, and blah blah blah. All arguments for another day. But if there's a head injury, you stop the game immediately, surely. You don't wait until the boys had a shot and potentially scored before you give, let's stop the game to get the physio on. Surely. Am I talking shite or am I surely right here?
I think the law of the game is you stop the game when there's a head injury. So I don't know what this outcome would have been if Motherwell had scored from that. I don't know if he just cancels the goal, which I think would be harsh. So yeah, you probably stop the game straight away. You maybe the ref hasn't known if the boys were down, like seriously injured or not. Maybe he's thought, oh, they've went down for a header, and then he's stopped paying attention to the two defenders that have been down. The ball's been taken, he's looked back and he's seen them on the floor, then he's blown for it. I think that's maybe the only case I can see being what happened. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with.
It was just completely bizarre. What happens if that boy takes a touch and volleys it into the top corner? Like, surely you either stop the game as soon as it happens, or you don't stop it at all. Because in reality, the two Dundee boys got up and carried on without the need of physio, so they were fine. But then what angered us even further, not us Motherwell fans, because the Motherwell fans will have the same opinion as this boy Scott as I do, and other Dundee fans did. He then gives Dundee the drop ball at the goalie because we were the last team to touch the ball. But the only thing that we done was the keeper saved it, and he saved it out wide to a Motherwell player. But anyway, there was that. One last thing I wanted to talk about before the red card. Now, obviously, a couple of weeks ago I had a big moan about clock stopping, time wasting, etc. I know that the scoreboards within stadiums now have changed where it gets to 90 minutes and the clock keeps counting, but that for whatever reason was never a thing until I think it was the beginning of this season. So I've got a habit now of when the fourth official comes out with the board, I immediately press a stopwatch on my phone and I have it on. It's just a habit, especially when you're at Dens and the clock is going on the scoreboard, but the scoreboards feel like the 70s, so it's not the best. But I think there was 6 minutes of added on time. Now, you're lucky if 3 of that was football. 3 minutes of that was football. Now, on this occasion, Dundee were probably the beneficiaries of this because they were down to 10 men and under the cosh from Motherwell. But he blew with 15 seconds left of the 6 minutes, when in reality, he should have been adding on more. So if that doesn't go to prove the point that I made a couple of weeks ago in my big long moan about time wasting and clock stopping, then I don't know what does.
Yeah, I think, we obviously had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, but there's pros and cons to the actual in-time football game getting played. We've discussed it, like I say. If that was the case, then, I mean, the ref's only in control of what he's been told, essentially, by the fourth official. If he's timed the game wrong, then he's timed the game wrong. There's not really much you can do about that. If it was the case where the 90 minutes plus the extra time is purely football and games, then games are going to run for hours, potentially, because there's going to be so many outs, and the game time is probably going to double overall. I think there's probably about 40, 50 minutes of actual in-game football time at a game. I could be making that up, but I think that's maybe kind of true. Yeah, I mean, for Dundee in that game, it's probably a benefit that he blew it early. It gets you the point. Like I say, you'd take the point from before the game. It's going to be a detriment of Motherwell. So yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I think you have benefited from it.
Yeah, as I said, Jack, we definitely were the beneficiaries of it this week, but see in 2 months' time, we'll not be. We'll be on the other end of it. Or on Saturday, we'll be on the other end of it. So it's a bigger picture that I'm looking at here. I just think that there's only one way to stop it, and that is with the clock stopping. Look, we've had this discussion before. I don't want to get back into it, but that was just something that I wanted to touch on because I noticed it, and obviously it was fresh in our minds from discussing it recently. So I wanted to bring it up to kind of prove my own point. But one of the things that did annoy me was the one of the rules that they've introduced recently to stop, especially goalkeeper time wasting. The boy wasn't even bothered when he's asked to do that. So what chance have you got of him having a fair amount of playing time? But we'll move on to what we're actually meant to be talking about, and that is Jan Dander's red card. What do you think?
Right, I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not on this. I think it's a foul. His studs are in the air. I know he gets the ball, but his studs are showing. However, I don't think it's a red card. If anything, it's maybe a booking. I think it is a foul, like I say, but I can't see. It doesn't seem like he's going in super aggressive. I think he's went down low. He's won the ball fair. And yeah, it is, in my opinion, pretty poor officiating.
I have to say, I mean, I agree with you. I know I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can here. I don't think he's going in at speed. I don't think he's out of control. I don't even think he's really touched the Motherwell player, if anything at all. I know that we need to get away from the argument of he's won the ball. I know that that's kind of classed as being a bit of a caveman, but he has won the ball. He's taken all of the ball. I know that his studs are showing, but as I say, he's not really caught the player. It's not at speed. He's in control of the tackle. I think it's a foul, and it really pains me to say that because, in all honesty, I'm only saying all these things based on what I interpret the rules of football are. If I was interpreting on the way that I want football to be, it's never a foul in a million years. But I think in the current day and age, even in the current day and age, I think a red card is harsh. I think it's maybe a foul, and I think it's maybe a booking. But other than that, I can't see a red card. But the problem is now that, as you say, Dundee have appealed it. I don't think they'll win that appeal either.
No, because I think by the rules of the book that like it is a dangerous challenge, despite him seeming to be in control.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, where's football going, Jack? When things like that are red cards, surely we want to keep our players on the park. The boy rolls around for about. See, that's another thing. Eh? The boy rolls around for about 10 seconds. The red card's out, and the boy's back on his feet.
Yeah, yeah. It's just to buy the foul, buy the booking.
Funny. But anyway, we'll move on. The build-up to this weekend, Dundee are hosting Livingston on Saturday. It's a rearranged game because both teams are out of the League Cup. And then on Tuesday night, United are at home to Aberdeen in the big game. In New Firm Derby. Are you making the trip through?
It wouldn't surprise you to hear that I'm not. No, I think I think I'll be gutted if we don't get the win. I think Aberdeen have been extremely poor so far this season. They've clearly not won a game yet. They have got good signings. They have made good signings, but for some reason, it's just not clicking for them. They're struggling to score, despite the talent they've got. I think a draw is fine, but I'd be quite disappointed if we got anything less than a win, if I'm being completely honest.
Do you think the United fans will boost Stuart Armstrong?
Yeah, well, probably. Probably.
Football fans are so fickle, are they?
They are.
Ugh. I heard the wee rumour now. It was on Twitter and it was from an Aberdeen fan account, so take it with the biggest pinch of salt you'll ever have seen. But I've heard the rumour that Aberdeen are allocated the shed in the fair play stand.
I think they're normally allocated the shed at the...
They've not been getting the shed recently.
Oh, they're not?
I think Christ, by now the allocations and whatever tickets and everything might have already been released, given it's only 8 days away. But I think that it might be from the police, because the last time United played Aberdeen at Tannadice, they cut massive bits out of the Aberdeen away end in the main stand, the Jerry Kerr stand, and it was to do with the Aberdeen fans being above the managers, because mind there was the time, I think it was the time before that, when Jim Goodwin was getting pelted with all sorts of the Aberdeen supporters.
Yeah.
So I think they've kind of cut the allocation down and took big chunks out of the section so that they weren't directly above them. Speaking from personal experience, from being in that lower fair play stand now, look, you get idiots in every set of supporters, so I'm not wanting to sit here and say that I'm bashing United, and I know that even with me caveat and what I'm about to say with that, you'll still get people who will say, you blue nose this and you know and blah blah blah. We were at that derby game when Dundee won end of last season, March time, whenever it was, and I'm not joking you, Jack, it was like target practice for missiles. I got hit with vapes, lighters. There was a time before that when I was in that section, there was a flare missed my head by about a couple of inches. I mean, it's not a pleasant experience. Now, I'm not saying for a second that it's not the same in the other direction. Personally, obviously, it's not from me, but I'm not saying that there isn't idiots surrounding me that will be doing exactly the same thing. There's got to be something done about that. Either you give Dundee and Aberdeen and Rangers and Celtic get it anyway, but you give Dundee and Aberdeen the shed in the fair play and segregate the main stand and give United the main stand, or you give Dundee and Aberdeen what they've been getting, the fair play and the Jerry Kerr, and you section off some of the shed for the United supporters, because it really wasn't a fun, Jack. Like, I got hit in the head for a vape. It's no comfortable, honestly. Like, you'll be in the shed. You're very, very close to each other.
Yeah, it is close.
It's not segregated well, so I think that the police might have got involved if the Aberdeen fans' rumour is true. If not, then it'll be what it is from now on. But yeah, there's something, in my opinion, got to be done with that. But let's reiterate what I said earlier. This isn't a me bashing United fans thing. This is idiots. There's idiots in every supporters group, and the idiots ruin it for the sensible people like yourselves, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think when it comes to that stuff, I'm not entirely against nets getting put up. It makes everyone safer in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it dampens some might say it might dampen the atmosphere slightly, but I don't see it. I think that's part of the uniqueness of the shed, is that you are so close to the away end. Mm-hmm. So it is a bit more personal that way, and I think the net would stop that, quite possibly. But yeah, it's not good that fans are throwing stuff at each other or on the pitch. That shouldn't be happening at football games.
It was the game that we were, because with being in the supporters club, I get my tickets for the derbies at Tannadice through that, and you just kind of get given where the supporters clubs get given. So I've been in the upper Jerry Kerr, I've been in the upper fair play, I've been in the lower fair play, I've been in the Jerry Kerr, I've been in the shed years ago. I've not got a choice of where I'm going to be. And we're in the lower fair play for the one where we won earlier in the year. But the time before that, I was last in that lower, was when United won 1-0. And it was the American midfielder boy that scored, whatever his name was, I can't mind. But when that goal went in, somebody threw a smoke bomb, like it was mentioned earlier, and it whistled past the side of my face. Like, I heard it crackling. in my ear as it went past, like obviously quite quickly, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" I didn't realise what it was, and I turned around and it hit somebody in like they're wearing a white t-shirt, and it hit them like in the midriff, like on the belly, and it was obviously their whole white t-shirt was gubbed, a big huge burn mark on it, and then like obviously the orange from the flare, and he was obviously visibly angry about it. That got picked up and got thrown back, so it was just as bad. So yeah, I know we've went off track, but there's got to be something done about that in my opinion. But going back to the actual match itself, you're fairly confident about that because surely with the United start to the season against Aberdeen start to the season, you've got to be. They've got a European game and a League Cup game before you even play them as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll do a number on them, so to say. I think, like I say, we've been able to score quite a lot of goals this season so far. I think we're the second highest goal scorers in the league so far this season. So I'd be disappointed if we never got at least a goal. Aberdeen don't seem to be able to score any goals. I don't know how many they've scored, but it's clearly not a lot. The only thing Aberdeen have got going for them is our defence is the worst in the league. We've got the joint worst defence in the league so far, but I think if we can outscore them, obviously, that's like Michael Owen would say, I think we could beat them. It's obviously it's a derby. It's going to be a tough game, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be confident in getting the 3 points.
Yeah, I think United will win that match. Aberdeen, that boy what's his name, Jimmy Tilleen. I think he's a goner by the international break.
Potentially.
They've signed all these boys from Scandinavia. Obviously, you've got Stuart Armstrong. You've got they've signed the boy. What's his name?
Carlson.
Kevin Nisbet.
Mm.
They signed the boy. That's the boy Carlson? He's the boy that they signed from Bologna, and he was worth like 9 million or something, and they've got him on loan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get massive hype about that because if he's been an expensive signing, they've managed to get him on loan. But I mean, he's here for a reason, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's obviously not getting the game time for Bologna. I think they're playing pretty well at the moment with Lewis Ferguson and that in their team. But he's obviously not set the heather alight over there, and he's been made available. So he is here for a reason. He's obviously got talent. It's just whether that can translate to the Scottish game or not.
Mm-hmm. And just before we move on to Dundee, the saddle that I'm Jack, I've actually just quickly checked the Aberdeen Twitter feed. Their tickets for United have been released, and it is the shed and the fair play that they're getting.
At least they'll get a use for their flag they've got. The shed is red. That's one benefit for them. So
the shed is red. Fucking hell. The other game, obviously, before that, Dundee are playing Livingston at home on Saturday. You could just tell that that's going to be two teams flinging shite at each other, can you? The quality is going to be very, very low.
There's a massive game for you, though.
Oh,
massive
you
game.
Have to win that game. Have to win that game.
Yeah. Would you take a point?
No, they have to win the game. They're at home. I think with teams like Livingston, Falkirk, Killie, especially, I think they're the three teams, as I keep saying, that are going to be rammed us. You can take points off them away from home, but you have to beat them at home. Because especially, like, for example, Falkirk, right? So, see, since Dundee got promoted 11 years ago, when Hartley was their manager, Aberdeen have been the specialists at absolutely doing Dundee in. So, they'll come to Dens and they'll beat us 7-0. We'll get pumped up there. We'll go massively, like, 10, 11, 15 games without even drawing against them. But like Hamilton will be around us, Livy will be around us, St Mirren will be around us, and they'll beat Aberdeen. And Aberdeen will drop points against them. So, for example, Falkirk have already been to Aberdeen this season last week, and they got their win. So, when you're playing against them teams, you have to, you can't allow them to beat us. We're at home. We're playing Livy. They're newly promoted. Yeah, they've had an okay start. They've won a game. They've drew a couple. They were unlucky against Hearts. I think they obviously beat at Pittodrie and drew. Point proven, right? But we need to beat them, and I don't think it's well within our capabilities to beat them on Saturday. You look at them player for player against us player for player. They're no better than us, in my opinion.
No, they have got a physical team. That's what they seem to do. They like to build physical teams, and it's just whether the Dundee players can match that. They struggled against United, who are also a physical team. But yeah, it's like you say, it's a massive game for you. I think if you don't win this, you could struggle this season. If you lose it, you'll struggle. If you draw, you're still in there with a pack. But a win's a must. A win's really
absolutely
important.
If we win on Saturday, it's a big result for us, especially given that our next game is away to St Mirren. We had a very good record against St Mirren last season. They didn't beat us. I think we took 7 points out of a 9 against St Mirren last season. So very good record against a good team with a great manager. Yeah, we're going into a difficult game, and then you've got the international break. I think after that, am I right in saying? So it's a big game. I'm just going to double check that now because I'm pretty sure it is the international break after that. Oh no, it's not. So the weekend after that, we're away to Aberdeen for our usual gubbin. So 2 away games, 2 tricky away games. Even though Aberdeen are struggling, they'll have picked up their act by the time they play us. So we need to take this home game by the scruff of the neck and get the game won, and then hopefully we can maybe sneak a couple of points out of St Mirren and Pittodrie.
Yeah, I think that's what you can hope for, really. I reckon if you can get 5 points out of that, you're going to be happy. Because Aberdeen are tough, can be a tough team historically. St Mirren, clearly a good team, and Livy are a physical side. So if you could take 5 points from that, even 4 points, I think that's still a good haul for you.
Absolutely. Anyway, we'll move on to the final segment of this week's podcast. As usual, it is the Futbology Challenge, which is about to get its name changed to the Dog Shit Challenge.
Yep.
Now, I always mean to say this, but I will put this week's results and the current standings in the league table on screen now, if you're watching / listening on YouTube. As you can see, not great. Jack again had a forfeit week, so he has a 1-0 loss. Martin had a game from 2024, it was only last year. That was a 1-0 defeat at Tannadice against Rangers. We've got the details up. There was a crowd of 14,268. The managers were Jim Goodwin and Philippe Clement. For United, starting 11, Jack Walton, Emmanuel Adebayoga, Declan Gallagher, Ross Graham, Kevin Holt, David Babunski, Will Ferry, Craig Sibbald, Lucas Stevenson, Christian Trapanovsky, and Jack's favourite, Jort van der Sand. On the bench, Dave Richards, Ross Docherty, Glenn Middleton, Richard O'Dada, Vichko Savage, Miller Thompson, Meshach Uba Chioma, Sam Dalby, and Louis Moult. For Rangers, the starting 11, Jack Butland, James Tavernier, Robin Proper, John Suter, Jeff Day, Connor Barron, Mohamed Diamonde, Tom Lawrence, Oscar Cortez, Cyril Dessers, and Kieran Dowell. And on the bench, Nedim Bajrami, Dujon Sterling, Nera Shoko Casawiro, Leon Balogun, Hamza Igamane, Liam Kelly, Nicholas Raskin, Ross McCausland, and Robbie Fraser. Anything you remember about that game, Jack? The goal scorer actually was Tom Lawrence on 7 minutes.
Nah, I can't say I remember anything from that game, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure I watched this match on the telly, or at least bits of it, and I'm pretty sure that the goal from Lawrence, he was just kind of burst through the middle of the team and kind of toe poked it in. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
other than that, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that leaves Martin still top of the league somehow. We've had 7 games each, as you can see in the league, and there's been one victory between of us all in game week 7. So yeah, that shows you how good this is going.
It's going to be a long season.
Oh, it's going to be a long season. I think we should start a sweepy, right? Who's going to win a game first? Dundee FC or me?
Who lasts longer, the lettuce or Dundee FC?
Because the problem is that I'm relying on Dundee FC in this one as well. Now, mine's was a 4-0 defeat at home to Celtic on September the 15th, 2001. Now, I mean, I would have been 5 years old, and I have my doubts on whether or not I was actually at this match. I think I was. I'm 99% sure it was, so the 1% doubt. But I'm kind of just saying that to try and cover the cracks more than anything. Still too big of a victory. As you can see, 1 draw, 6 defeats, and my goal difference is abysmal. But a crowd of 9,842, managers were Ivano Benetti and Martin O'Neill. Starting 11 for Dundee, Jamie Langfield, Walter Del Rio, Zurab Kishnashvili, Marcello Morocco, Barry Smith, Beto Garrido, Georgi Mzadze, Gavin Ray, Mark Robertson, Alessandro Romano and Stephen Milne. And the bench, Paul Mathers, Chris Coyne, Stephen Robb, Colin Boylan and Fabian Caballero. For Celtic was starting 11, Robert Douglas, Johan Mialbi, Bobo Balde, Jos Vilhaven, Didier Agat, Paul Lambert, Neil Lennon, Alan Thompson, Lubomir Moravchik, Chris Sutton and Henrik Larsson. And on the bench, Dimitri Karin, John Hartson, Stilian Petrov, Sean Maloney and Stephen Craney. Now, if you look at that team and that starting 11 and that bench chat, 4-0 is probably a good scoreline, to be honest with you. The goal scorers, 45 Larsson, 49 Larsson, 70 Petrov and 88 Maloney. So that leaves the league table looking like this. Played 7 each. Martin, 1 win, 2 draws, 4 losses with a goal difference of -1 and 5 points. Jack, played 7, 1-0, drawn 3, lost 4, with a goal difference of -4 and 3 points. And mine's is played 7, 1-0, drawn 1, lost 6, with a goal difference of -12 and 1 point. Now, who's going to get the victory first? Me, with my 700 and odd games on Futbology, or Jack, with his 70 odd games on Futbology? I guarantee you it's no me.
Especially if we keep recording on a Monday.
Oh, God. I can't believe it didn't get into a McCann game today.
Yeah, I know, surprising.
Obviously, people are aware, if they've listened for a while, the rules are that if you have more than one game, it goes to a random number generator. I don't do it. Martin does it for me. I'll do it for Jack. I had 3 games today. The first one was that game that I ended up getting. The second game was a 1-1 draw against Dunfermline in September 2007. And the third game was a 2-1 home defeat against Motherwell in 2012. So I could have had another draw, but I tell you, I look every day and I think to myself, I wish I had this day on the day we recorded. I think it was on Saturday. I looked and I had 5 games and all 5 of them were wins.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's just really unfortunate, isn't it? But yeah, that is the Futbology challenge. So next week, game week 8, we're going to manifest this. Game week 8 is the first victory of the season for Andrew in the league table. Anyway, that is the end of today's podcast. As usual, please give our socials a follow. On Twitter it is @SandemanSTPod, and on Instagram it is @TheSandemanStreetPod. As I said at the beginning of the episode, if you're listening on YouTube, give us a like, give us a hype, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. All of this really helps us, and as I said last week, and as I've thought since the beginning, every single person who takes their time out to listen to this is really, really appreciated. I know it's just the two of us talking garbage for an hour and a bit, but yeah, it is appreciated. Thank you very much for continuing to listen. Anything that you'd like to say, Jack, before we finish?
Just thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks very much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week for episode 13. Bye for now.